Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining our webinar about IT project management for customers. My name is Olga, and I'm representing tietää, which is a well-known Microsoft partner working on Baltic and Finnish markets. And we deliver ERP, BI, HRM, and CRM solutions, mostly big comprehensive platforms which allow you to have competitive advantages. We have around 100 people in our team, and we have more than 20 years of experience. And as I said, so we work in those main areas of competence, and here you can also see our main products that we offer as Microsoft partner. But today and for the coming session, we are going to focus on CRM solution and mostly on Microsoft Dynamics sales. This particular webinar is a part of a larger series. Some of you have attended our previous webinar. So the first one was dedicated to choosing a platform over minor local solutions. And you also maybe have seen demo sessions my colleagues provided. If you haven't, we can send those as follow-up links. And later on, we are about to focus on actual functionalities of Microsoft sales. But today we have a slightly different topic to be covered, and that is IT project management, implementing IT project as a sample project we use a sales solution, of course. So why are we covering this topic? Why are we here today? What's the point? Why are we not talking about functionalities from the very beginning? So, and should actually a customer know anything about IT project management, since it seems to be our area of competence, and shouldn't be the way that IT partners cover it all instead of sharing anything with the customer? Well, the thing is, when we implement software solutions, we form a team, which is an IT partner and a customer. And if we're talking about a slightly more difficult software solution implementation project, then it's not going to be easy, and we need to form a certain playground with certain rules. And there are many various ways how we can implement the same solution. We can apply different approaches, different tools, different techniques. And IT professionals might know those and might get certified, and they know the rules, while the customer might not know it. So we expect you to be the professional in your all areas, but we cannot expect you to have IT background, which results in the way that the customer sees the whole IT project coming as a huge overwhelming activity where we speak some different language and we try to expect all kind of strange inputs from your sides, all kind of techniques and requirements. And unless you have implemented a lot of various IT products, they probably do not know most of them, which in its own term results in multiple problems during implementation projects. Actually, it is very hard to say whether the bigger problem is all about technical restrictions that we might see, where we technically cannot do something within solution, or the most problems come from the parties not being able to agree upon the rules of implementations. The parties not knowing how actually we are going to collect the requirements, design the product, make sure that we are developing the product that the customer needs, testing it, being on time. So, and all the other problems, including growing scope, growing budget, and all of the issues which are exhausting all the people who are participating in the project, come from not knowing the background and the methodology of how we implement projects. So, who is responsible for that? As I said, that we might have numerous problems within the project, and the easy answer is, well, IT partner, of course. If there is something to do with the methodology, which is your competence, which is your area of interest, so you are responsible for not explaining the customer how we are going to implement the project. But the truth is, this is a responsibility that we have to share. So as a team during implementation projects, we are both responsible for knowing how we are doing it and dealing with the consequences if we have any flaws in our methodology. So today, we are not going to list all the possible approaches and all the possible ways how the projects can be implemented. This is not an achievable goal, and this is not something that we are focusing on. But we will try and walk you through the main stages of the project and raise some questions that probably should be on the table as you plan the project. So we will share some of the issues that you might want to consider when you plan implementation of solution, and that some expectations that we have towards the customer and you as a customer might have towards your IT partner. And if we end up with some scribbling, some ideas that, okay, this is something that next time when we want to implement a software solution, this is something we need to pay attention to, then I would say that the goal of today's webinar is absolutely hit. So let's see what we can do. And we are talking about Microsoft Dynamics Sales as a sample project because the product itself does dictate the way we implement the product a little bit. So we are talking about comprehensive platform, not a very easy solution with many various functionalities, not very easily to be designed. So we are talking about a little bit more complex project, that little tiny software piece to be implemented. So what the steps are and how would we recommend to start the project? Let us say that you feel there is some need in your organization towards a new software solution. We would recommend you start by gathering the team and collecting initial input. What is it? By gathering the team, we would really want you to think about all the people that are going to get impacted with the new solution. You definitely are going to use someone who is going to manage this project in your organization as a project manager, who is going to handle all the organizational issues, arranging workshops, making sure the communication flows, making sure everybody is informed, making sure we have all the documentation gathered and we don't have any questions. So that would be a person responsible for organization. But also we are going to use a person who is going to share some technical background, and we call this person super user or main user. So this would be the user who can provide input for us as IT partner to develop and set up the platform that you need, to test it and to make sure that that the new solution is known for the people in organization. We also want you to think about so-called key users. So those are the people who are going to be impacted by the solution implementation, first of all, to begin with. So they are those who are going to use it. And we also want you to think about end users and at least inform them that something is being discussed. Why do we want you to gather such a big team before you contact all the IT partners and before you actually move on with the implementation project? The worst thing that can happen in a project is moving on with designing, developing, and testing the project, and then learning there is some very crucial input missing because somebody who is really impacted by this solution is not informed and wasn't engaged to begin with. Also, this might be the moment when you want to think about all other spheres expertise providers. For example, if you are using any third-party solutions that you know your new solution should be integrated with. So this is the moment where you probably want to communicate and have some input from them. And the project owner who is going to be responsible for the budget. So the first step that we recommend is gathering the team. The second step is co-providing initial input, and we recommend you to have at least 3 points: business requirements, functional requirements, and technical requirements. And by requirements, what we sometimes have as an input for implementation projects is say, well, our requirement is to implement a new sales solution, a new CRM solution. that is not a requirement. That is a tool how we can have the requirement covered. Actual business requirement is the need you have in business. Your business is asking for some new solution to be implemented. For example, you are currently having sales activities handled by your solution, but you also want to take a good look at your support activities. You want to have your support cases, and currently it is not covered by any software solution. Or you want to have a free department with resources to be able to handle some new project. And currently they are inserting data into 5 different software solutions, and this is not something that you are going to settle down with. So this is not something that you're happy about. Or you want to go to a new market and you want to have a very good understanding of leads that you have on this market. So those would be business requirements, and we really want you to think about them before you talk to IT partners. So you know what you want to achieve with the project, and you have measurable, nice requirements, which we might adjust later on, but initially we still want you to think them. So functional requirements stand for functions that you would like to see in your new solution. Those might be very difficult to have before you know the platform you're about to implement. But still, for example, you might know that for sales solution, you do want to have a big dashboard for salespeople where they can have their activities planned the particular day and have some overdue invoices and have some appointments. You do know there should be this place. You don't know how it looks, but you know this is the function that you have to have. Or you have functional requirement as an integration with some third-party system. For example, you know that you need to see an overview of all the calls which you make using another third-party solution, but you want to see them in your sales solution. Try to put down everything that you know as far as functional requirements. And technical requirements are those that you probably need to consult about with your IT team or security team or cybersecurity team, or maybe you have some prescriptions by auditors. Basically, those stand to all the technical parameters that we might want to consider before we start implementation. For example, in banking sphere, sometimes the companies say, you know what, we cannot use public cloud solutions because our policy says that we are not allowed to do so. Or you know what, we have certain expectations in terms of performance, the speed. Or you know what, we want to have audit log because our security system wants us to be able to see what kind of user is doing what in the sales system. So those would be good ideas to know before you start the solution that you're about to implement. So let's say now you have the team, and let's say now you have your initial draft with some requirements listed, and you're ready to move on. Great. So you are selecting the partner team, and by selecting the partner team, I would like you to pay attention to the following thing. First of all, the product as an initial platform. So when you want to implement a CRM solution, nobody is going to create something from scratch for you exactly and have a very, very custom-made individual solution which does not exist in the world. So you usually use some platform, some existing solution which will be set up and developed according to your needs. So when you look at those solutions, you might probably want to have some demos and you might probably want to study the background. But what people very frequently forget about is also vendor part and product owner part. So I will show you using the example of our Microsoft Dynamics Sales. So for Microsoft Dynamics Sales, we are the vendor, so you can check our background. So you know we have 20 years of experience, we have the developers team, we have the team to develop it, but the product owner is Microsoft. And when you get back to your initial requirements, especially if you're a big organization and you have lots of security issues and lots of requirements, you will see that most of them get covered by the Microsoft team, and they are continuously supported, all the security things, GDPR things, all the management and support from their side. So 3 things to think about when you select a partner: whether there is this infrastructure behind the team that are ready to support your product. Now, At this point, you might want to meet the IT partner side team. Let's say that you have done your initial analysis and now you're ready to invite IT partner and sit behind the table and discuss it. How many people from IT partner you should expect? Well, usually you cooperate with the project manager and consultant. But what you should ensure is that the team has infrastructure behind this team. So first of all, the very responsibilities and competence of project manager and consultant should be clarified. They may vary from company to company. What you are looking into is whether the team are ready to provide consultations as technical consultants, because you might not be sure about your technical requirements. So the team has to ask the correct questions to make sure that we have all the requirements covered. Whether they know the functionalities of the product they're about to implement, whether they can analyze your business requirements, whether they have the competence. The same thing about development team, which you usually do not very much communicate with. Make sure that you know about the competence of the IT partner and they are able to provide the developments needed. So, and this is something that happens with one-man show company. So when you have everything in one representative, it might be a little bit of a challenge because you do not have the controls to be able to escalate the issues if you have any. So you should have at least a consultant covering your business needs, the development team covering the technical side, technical consultant, and project manager handling, and a management representative who is going to kick in if there is an issue to be escalated and to be dealt with. So let's say that you have met the team and you've liked the team, you like the process. So let's implement. How are we doing that? What are we doing about it? What the stages are and what the next step is. So generally, we talk about very classic stages of implementation. So we say, yes, we need to have diagnostic analysis and design to understand what kind of solution you have now, what kind of solutions you want to have, to explain what kind of solutions we are designing and developing here, and then we need to implement and launch that. It sounds easy, but it tells us absolutely nothing about the way we actually do that. There is more than that, and there are many different solutions of how we actually do that. And this is the moment where we usually hear two words, and those are implementation approaches, and that is very frequently something that most project teams know about the way we are going to work, that is agile and waterfall. Let's have a pause here because it is very important. So agile and waterfall are two IT approaches. Lots of people say, you know what, let's approach it agile way. And you know what is the classic waterfall project? Why are we not happy about those explanations? And why are those explanations not really telling you much about the way project is run? So let's first define. So the waterfall is a little bit more known approach where we have stages of the project very well clear cut, and where as the water falls down, we try to get the scope very much fixed, and we are not really adjusting it much unless there is a big change to be implemented. So we try to follow the scope initially set during requirements clarification design, and then we develop according to the plan. So those are the pure waterfall projects, are those when we have a very clear cut design, very easy to understand projects. We know exactly what we want to implement, and we know how to do it, so we develop it and test once the solution is ready. And as the water falls down, it is very difficult to spin it backward. So if we deploy something and learn there is something not very right at the early stages, it is very difficult to fix it and go back with that. Agile, on the contrary, is an approach where we basically prototype all the time. So we take some portion of requirements and we collect requirements as well as we can. Then we design, prototype, develop a piece of functionality, let the customer test it, deploy, say it's okay, and then we collect another portion of requirements, develop, and this is how we built up the project. Now, There are lots and lots and lots of myths around those two words. Sometimes people say agile is something easy and quick and something that will save you money and time and be flexible, which is not true. Sometimes people say, well, waterfall is something meant only for very big companies, which is not true. Sometimes people say this is something waterfall will provide you great information without any risks, so you will not have any problems if you do the waterfall, which is not true. So let us see actually what is happening. So first of all, the first problem with that is that none of those words gives you an answer on how you actually work. Both waterfall and agile itself is an approach, meaning the concept, the principle. And now they are not answering how we are doing, they're only describing general approach. And you can make mistakes with both approaches, and you can spend lots of time and money with both approaches. For example, what you are looking at now is a framework, a very famous agile framework called SAFe. It's a scaled agile framework, which describes how the project is actually delivered. So rather than agile itself, which is a manifest as a set of principles. I don't know, does it strike you as something very quick and easy and something that saves you effort and money? No, it doesn't, because it is not. Because you can handle very bulky projects with both agile and waterfall, and they have various issues there, and they can be both bulky, both expensive, and both time consuming. So this is not something that you should rely on when selecting an approach. Number two, there is no better or worse solution, and none of those are 100% safe. It's not that if you stick to a waterfall solution that you are going to avoid risks and then you will spend more time and money designing it, but then you will be sure that there nothing happens. The same thing about agile. What you are looking at now is a very famous Norwegian Viking ship. Beautiful. I've seen it myself in the museum. Great piece of work. Great, lots of patterns, looking beautiful, very massive, lots of man hours put to that. The only problem with that is that it sank the moment it was launched. It could not float at all. They spent hours and months building it up, but they never knew that it would not be able to actually float. So this is a classic waterfall failure. So we have a beautiful vision, we have a design, we believe in that, we build it up, we spend a lot of time and money building it up, but then only when we develop and launch it, we learn that it doesn't work. So if it were an agile project, you would have to build a little copy, a prototype of the same ship, of the same shape, try to float it, try to launch it, learn that it's sinking, and then change the whole idea, concept, and then change it to the point until you have a working prototype. Does it mean that the agile approach is safer? No, because what you are looking at now, well, actually, this is not a failure. Those constructions were built for some earthquake regions, and I believe they're working fine, but the way it looks actually describes a very classic agile approach. For agile, when we start building up the project and we do not see exact large picture of the requirements, if we don't know how large the project is going to end up with, we probably might build a huge solution on a very tiny foundation. So that is another type of a problem. So what's the conclusion? So is there an answer to that? So first of all, the bad news is that no matter how much you try, you are not going to be able to avoid all the issues and all the problems. So, but the good news is that what we know for sure, if you don't try at all, you are guaranteed to have those issues and those problems. So what we can do, we can try and select the correct approach for every project individually. And when you select the approach for every project individually, what you should consider whether the team is in the position where they actually are capable of creating a very easy, laconic, and precise plan, and we know exactly it is not going to change. Ironically, so the waterfall pure waterfall approach is very much applicable in a very tiny project. So when the scope is very easy, and from the very beginning we know that this is exactly what we are doing, so we implement the whole piece and then you just test it, and after that we can see whether we need to adjust anything after that. For larger projects, what we do, we combine approaches. And when we combine approaches, we need to sit down and answer the question how, in addition to question what approach we are using. Now I will walk through exact sample project in Microsoft Dynamics Sales implementation so that you understand the way we combine the tools and approaches, because the modern techniques mean that it is very difficult to stick to one pure approach and make sure all the issues get covered. What you need to do is to be aware of all the tools suggested, but different approaches, and together with your IT partner to combine the tools in order to meet the requirements of every individual project. So, how we usually implement those? We consider the first part of the project, which is diagnostics, analysis, and design, as if we are heading to a waterfall project. So we are trying to analyze all the business, technical, and functional requirements, as well as we know, to try and get the understanding of the larger picture. And here you can see some keywords which we are not going into details with today, but basically my suggestion and message to you is that those should be very right expectations that you might have towards your IT partner. So the questions to be asked here: how are we going to provide requirements? Do you have the actual tools of describing as is and to be solutions? Do you have some templates? Can you show us what exactly the requirements list could be? Can you give us examples? If we cannot describe it because, for example, functionally, we don't know what to want just because we have never seen the platform that we are about to implement. So probably if you show us, then we might have some better ideas of what we might want. So this is the point where the IT partner should walk you through the process of analysis, should demonstrate the options that you might have, should help you with the schemes and process flows, and help you make sure that we reach the point where we see, yes, now we see the actual picture, the large picture of what we are looking for. And then you give it a very critical analysis, whether it's an easy project and we have a very clear-cut design, which we are 100% sure is not going to change, or we are more in a position where we have a list of requirements and a sort of described large picture, and we are sure about the platform, but we are not really sure about detailed functionalities. And detailed functionalities are those where we really need to stick to agile tools. And this is when we take every functionality separately and we prototype it, we create it, and we let you test it. And this is how we build up the project within what looked like a frame of a waterfall project, but we use various control tools and we use various agile approach tools to actually make it happen. So another set of questions that you probably want to ask your IT partner is, how are we going to develop and test? What is the exact frequency? When will you provide us pieces for testing? How are we going to document this solution? And how are we going to ensure that the solution we are creating and implementing is the one that we want to work with? This is a little bit of example why you do want your IT partner to help you with coming conflict requirements. So the left picture is what we are expecting you, so we believe you have your requirements very clear set, but in reality it can be a messy process and you might want help in that. So this is where you should get your expectations straight, and this is where cooperation should happen. Another thing that I would like to cover in terms of planning the project and what you should address, in addition to knowing the exact tools of developing, testing, and making sure that we are following the requirements, are all the general project management approaches. And by this I mean that from the very beginning, you and your IT partner should elaborate on risk management approach, which means how are we going to understand that we are having a trouble in our project? What is the risk? What kind of risk do we consider? What do we do about the risk? Do we have a clear pattern how we deal with the risk? So if somebody from the users think there is a problem, how do they escalate that? How often do we consider this, and what do we do about them? A big clutter is change management approach, and that is why I mentioned gathering and engaging some part of end users who might be impacted by this solution. So change management approach stands for keeping people informed and ready for the change which the implementation project brings with it. So that would be your internal work on whether the people are ready. How does it bother us as IT partner? Well, we are going to be the one bringing you this solution. And unless the people are ready, we will be the one to deal with the general protest that happens among the people. This is why this is a topic to be discussed within the team between the customer and IT partner. The same stands for communication. So do we have clear set channels? There are lots of things to be discussed and communicated within the project. So do we have the tools? Do we have the ways that agreed that? That would be a little bit of the point I would like you to put down and think about next time you are implementing the solution. So I hope it did provide some kind of understanding of what points you might want to consider when you plan implementation project. What's next? So first of all, you are most welcome to send us any questions you have either now or after the webinar. And also we are going to continue the topic using other webinars, and here you can see the dates of the coming webinars. You are most welcome to register, and we will send you the link with a follow-up email. And unless you have any big questions, I believe I thank you so much for your participation. And if you have any great ideas and great questions right after we finish, you are most welcome to introduce those. Thank you so much from my side, and have a nice day.